This week for the Void devlog, we've done quite a decent chunk of things when it comes towards the inventory system, items, the general display UI elements. Let us begin. Okay, so this has been a bit of a full-on week as I've been developing the inventory system for the initial game. When it comes towards the RPG, we obviously want a bit of functionality when we're actually exploring the world. This goes as follows: that we will need an inventory system, and I currently have my character shirtless. This will come in due time of why he is. That being said, if I press B, I now have a bag section which I can then expand upon. The inventory system at the moment in time has quite a decent chunk of item slots. However, I have also made it modulable so you can increase the amounts you can hold. I was thinking of adding that into like a quest line, like if you complete this quest line you get like 8 different more slots in your bag and then you can carry more or something to that effect. Just in general, building out the inventory system has quite a few different types of things going along with this, like items, like the inventory system has to hold a said item on it. And when it comes towards items, we can run over here and we can actually see that in the bottom right hand corner, you can have a pickup sword. You use the 3 to interact and yeah, you have your item. One little bug, I forgot to compile the necessary data, but when you pick up your item after pressing 3 to interact, this means you pick up any of the item or interactions. This will go with, so if you're speaking to a vendor, you can interact to him. If you want to interact with basically anything, 3 is your interact button. It's also enter, as I did that as the backup, just in case you wanted to rekey bind like 3 to something else or enter to something else. So you have 2 options for your interactions, as I figured that would be a lot easier. Now, I actually developed the tooltip system for said items when I was developing them, and we have a common sword. Now, going over this with the inventory, once we press B to open up our inventory, we can hover over this item and it will tell us the name. It will give a color of the description of what actually it is, and it will also display that down below. It will give a short description of what it is, so a common Aronian sword, which it will be your starting item. The next thing that will drop down is the item slot that it will go into, such as this is a literal weapon. If you're picking up a chest piece, it will say chest, and legs. If you get my point, it will tell you what gear slot it will go into, because you can only have one of each, and thus that will go on like there. When it came towards like essence wise, so if we go into our close this down and go in towards our skill system from last week, it will actually give you essence traits and you'll be able to see what essence trait you currently have. This will work out okay, and then you can actually pair that with your abilities. Currently, his essence trait is Earth. Looking at that, I figured out while going along with this item system that if your essence trait, which is 1 out of 8, and you have 2 options to actually pick from, he is currently by default as a human in the lore by an Earth essence user. This means that the Aronian sword, the basic one that you're starting off with, will have a synergy already attached to it, and that is an Earth. Now, just for explanation wise, the Aronian sword is classed as epic. That's why it's purple on the tooltip. You'll have multiple different types of item qualities depending on the type of item, which some of them will be linked to quest chains, and also just generally being good at the game will obtain those items. So such as you will have qualities going in descending order, which is rare, epic, artifact, bound, legendary, and mythic. Mythic items will be something like something stupid, like a literal feat of strength within the game, like you take out a dungeon boss with like no armor or something crazy like that, something ludicrous, and you do that quest chain. The mythic items will be generally items from the mythos, which I have literally written up on the screen. And other than that, with the tooltip shown on the different types of items, we also have the Earth and Epic, but also the stats down below. Now, I thought about this when I was displaying the stats that the item will give you. And if you see, it is health, essence, attack damage, spell damage, and movement speed. These ones are the baseline stats that are on at the moment. These are up for debate. I just needed the functionality to actually be working. If it is green, it will give you what the stat is actually increasing and the actual stat. So attack damage will be +1 if I attach this sword, which is perfect for my attacking ability on my action bar for number 1. Now, if we close down our inventory and we walk over towards the dev shirt, we can then attach this. We can see that the dev shirt will actually show red because it's reducing our movement speed, but also increasing our health at the exact same time. So then you'll be able to see and weigh up your pros and cons of every item that you actually gain along with this. This also goes alongside quest items. It will not display, and I have that already functionally put in, so it won't actually show any of the stats if the item does not have stats applied to them, and they're like quest items, consumables, and all that. We have that already built in, so you can have your general potions and also pretty much any item you can think of like a quest item. Now, if we take our character, I actually added in the basic functionality of applying the shirt. Now, if I right click and use, I can use the item, attach the shirt, and now our dude has a shirt to walk around on. And then I'm working on the functionality at this moment in time to actually remove it and remove the stats that the item's just given you. So at the moment, the shirt can be applied onto the character, which means all of the other different types of item slots will work. I just need to work out getting the stats back off of said character and then moving that onwards to the next thing. Coming on to that, if we go over towards this little lovely white cube and we use our interact button, I've added functionality. If I may be so bold, I've added functionality in order to give everyone a bank. This means in any capital city that we're exploring within Aldora, the game, we can then move and hold items within there. That means that the inventory gets updated, the item gets saved, and if our bag space is too much, we can then hold those in our banks and just save them for a later date while we're going on our adventures. And the bank will be accessible in any capital city, which just makes sense, and then it will save across the board. So if you go to the bank in Valandir, you drop off your sword. So yeah, you've got it in Valandir. Then we go to the island of Sindressa and you go towards the bank. That's one thing I'm going to just omit from the lore. Well, from just general census, you can still access it. You just go to any bank and then just get it from there. I worked it out like how to actually do that, like have multiple different banks, but I was just like, for quality of life of players, you would want to just go to your bank and just pick up your item no matter where you are in the world. Just go to your bank from the nearest capital city and just pick up the item you need. That means when it comes towards all of the different types of like the swords and their effects and their items, and you're going against something, let's say a wind essence monster is needing to be taken out, you have a fire essence weapon inside of your bank, you can just go to your bank, pick that up, apply that, and then synergize with that and just knock that out. I'm really going with synergy with what you're actually building, so the different types of abilities and attacks. So if we go back into stats and we can see our traits on all of there, the idea for that is when we go down to skills and you select your different type of attacks for rock wall, all that stuff, and your different types of essences overall. So when you're using your attack or your essence ability, you can synergize those attacks with your trait that is on your main stats, which you can change out, and then you can apply that to your items to give yourself more damage or defense when it comes towards certain effects. So like an earth essence user versus a fire essence user, it's going to do significantly less damage. If you've got earth essence armor on, you'll have a reduction in damage to you, and if the vice versa with like opposing different types of essences that will go along with that. I tried working out a table for this, and I'll have to give you an update once I'm actually done with it all. But alongside that, that is the update for the week. I've done the inventory system, and now I've just got to get into the gearing system. Along with that, any other different types of things that and or feedback when it comes towards the simplicity of the inventory system, please feel free to leave that in the comments. If you need any other additional types of information, if you were playing the game, that would be helpful. But alongside that, I think minimal and just straight, blunt, to the point, this is what it will do, is much more easier overall for the player. I pick up my sword, I see it giving me this, I can cross-reference it with something else quickly with my tooltips. We'll go with that. Other than that, I'm going to work on the gearing system and or the ability system and just merging all of them together in a trifecta and just getting that done for the following week. Other than that, please feel free to go over towards the Discord, as I'm always posting all of my updates that I'm doing before the devlog onto the Discord, or if you generally want to have a general chit chat, then please feel free. Other than that, have an awesome rest of the day, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be soon.